All right, so hi everyone, I'm Megan. I do not have a coding background, which will be evidenced by the fact that my MVP is a Google Doc at this point. And I could really use help trying to figure out how to progress the thing that I'm working on. So give you some quick background about me. I come from a communication rhetoric background, did a couple graduate degrees in that before realizing my home is more in the disaster relief sector, where I worked with like Occupy Sandy, Occupy Wall Street, Boulder flood relief, that sort of thing. So this directory will kind of get at what I'm trying to do. Let me see if I can share. Is my screen showing up on your screens yet? No. Oops. Okay. Seeing anything yet? Is there anything that's showing up?
We see John.
Okay. Okay, so this isn't working. So let me just try to describe what I am trying to do. Technology. Okay, so right now, as its primary purpose is to create an open source directory of progressive organizations, campaigns, and projects in order to first make those transparent to other progressive organizations and entities within that same space, and then to be able to map those things geographically, and then also along issue areas, so whether it's money out of politics or student debt or environmental justice, racial justice, those kinds of things, to be able to map those, and then potentially down the future along other identified areas or lines of correspondence to be determined later. And then another function of it would be to match the needs of these emergent and or progressive organizations with the resources and skills of coders and also other people that want to interface with these projects. The need for something like this, I think, as a lot of us saw in recent social movements, there is an issue with people being able to plug into the movement, not being able to figure out how to interface with the projects and the tasks and the campaigns that were coming out of these movements. And so to be able to connect them better along their lines of interest or affinity or geographic proximity, that would be kind of a first step. Let me see. Right, and then secondly, while some degree of redundancy is necessary and normal for resilient systems, being able to making sure that we're not risking over dedicating limited resources by duplicating efforts by other parties that are in that space, where we could instead connect people who are working on the same things. I think a lot of people don't know where all these emergent campaigns and issues and projects are coming out of and from where, and to be able to map that and actually see that would be really, really helpful. Really wish that I could change, that you could see what I see. Let me try one thing. Still no screen share? Okay. This is such a sad day. Okay. Well, you can click on, I opened up the link so you can see more of a description of what this project is about and what it's trying to do. Eventually, I think that it would be able to connect the people and the projects within the progressive sphere to projects that are in the humanitarian disaster response sphere. There's a lot of overlap between the things that we're working on, and then also from the academic sector, coming from a communication background again, I know that there's a lot of research on progressive campaigns, movements, organizations, projects, concepts, and to be able to bring academics into the real world would be, I think, a wonderful thing to do, because they want to do it, but the old vanguard right now is not quite sure how that would work. And so I think that would be really helpful to have organizations too that can bring in researchers who want to talk about and make visible the efforts of progressive projects to another kind of community. Let's see. Oh, super quickly, what this would actually look like. Right, so having your the basic things that you would find in any kind of directory, so name of the organization, a brief bit description of who they are, what they do, physical address, phone number, website, email, Twitter handle, hashtags used, that's another project, but Facebook, YouTube, Slack channel, whatever, all the communication channels, but then going kind of a step further, and maybe you want to be able to search for a progressive organization that's a B Corp, or maybe it's a startup, or maybe it's a established NGO or 501c3, and maybe it was formed 2 days ago, or 5 years ago, or 20 years ago, because you want to sort of cull the expertise of people that have been in that sector for a while, or maybe they emerged within the range of some sort of a event or disaster that happened. You can search it by sector, by field, by the public or segment that you're serving. So maybe you want to find a tech-oriented disaster relief organization that deals specifically with refugees. And one example of that would be a group called TechVugees, and that's if you're looking at the directory, you can see the information that I've just had to scrape from the website, but eventually I imagine that this directory could be automatically populated. Not quite sure how yet, but that's the vision, and I hope that covers mostly what I'm trying to do. And I guess lastly, just using this disaster relief model or paradigm to be able to identify, locate, and list basically needs, whether they're the coders or people that need to come into this sphere, or the organizations themselves listing their needs. Like, I think it was Josh was talking about identifying, like programming languages that you're experienced in, and being able to plug into organizations like that kind of idea that would better match the resources that exist in the world with the organizations and projects that need them.